Welcome to this episode of YouTube where we finish up the Working for Wolves weekend, and that started on Friday afternoon and ended on Sunday afternoon. If you're watching the webcams, you may have seen that the exhibit pack was off display on Saturday morning from 8 o'clock till about 10:30. So we had a crew of 14 people, 5 Wolf Care staff coming in to help take the lead on projects. Tina, my dog, was helping to provide some stimuli for the wolves when they returned. But we pressure washed the pond. We had windows washed. We did a little bit of camouflaging of some fence panels, moved some tripping hazards, some branches in the upper part of the enclosure, raked up excess straw, put in the wood chips on top of the den, in the den, got whatever residual hay was available, was left over, and the wolves, the exhibit pack was moved over to the what's called the East Retirement area, and they spent a fair amount of time digging up caches, and you saw Axel just running away there with a beaver foot that was cached there. Aiden doesn't do nearly as well as the rest of the pack. He doesn't like to kind of lose control of the exhibit, gets a little bit more stressed. You can see here Denali's quite relaxed. Bolts is just laying in the back, and the pups are scavenging and looking for opportunity. Here comes Aiden again, panting, a little bit upset, and digging and kind of grabbing at stumps and things. So we have to do work, and we have to do it quickly. They're not tolerant of too much longer than a couple of hours of time off the exhibit. But it's worth it to be able to have all of those things done to help them get ready for the summer season of heat. And obviously fire risk goes up, so the more branches we can get out of the enclosure, the less risk we have for the wolves if there is a wildfire situation, or if the summer heat bugs are too bad. The wood chips are really helpful in kind of helping with bug control. So we watched alliances within holding, and it looked like Grayson was on, which is right now down by the gate. Axel's up on the top of the den. Grayson kind of watched and was tuned in to Aiden a little bit, and one of the staff said there was even a time when it appeared that Bolts was paying particular attention to Aiden's stress, and that Grayson actually blocked Bolts. So those are things that we look at. We certainly don't want Aiden too stressed about anything, and we are very cognitive that we limit the amount of time that he is separated. But it does appear that the pups aren't taking advantage of his, actually I should say yearlings, aren't taking advantage of his stress. But Bolts is the one who kind of watches that. So we want to be very mindful of that, and make sure that if there is an opportunity for distractions or we can speed things up, we will always do that. So, and these are once in the spring and usually once in the fall that we have Working for Wolves, where we have a weekend crew. There may be times when we do things with the local community college or with contractors where it's maybe one morning where we lock them up for an hour or two, but for the most part, these big work projects allow us the opportunity to really enhance the lives of the captive wolves. And so here they are coming back out, and there's Aiden with his tail up. First thing he's going to do is RLU and raised leg urination in the new wood chips, and then go investigate any place there had been people or any kind of work that we have done. And so one of the things that we did was camouflage a little bit of the pump housing, the area that was concrete, just to kind of blend it a little bit. And so they're sentinelling on that, and that's a very interesting thing for them to do. They're also checking out because the pump housing was opened and the ice was removed, and certainly getting the pumps ready so we can get the pond started is a real priority for us, even though it doesn't seem very warm to the humans. For the wolves who have their winter coats on yet, temperatures getting into the 60s or 70s can get very warm for them, so we want to make sure that that's something that we get going pretty quickly, is that pond. We also installed a mister, and the mister is a pump operated system that mists cooling water over the exhibit along the rock edge to try to help reduce the temperature within the exhibit. That mister shares a fence line between the exhibit pack as well as the retirement, so the pack holding area, so Grizzer and Luna can benefit from that as well. So Aiden's coming back to do a scent roll again, just right where Bolts did. So we watch that to make sure that there isn't any redirected aggression coming back in, because scent rolling is one of those things where you're a little vulnerable when you're rolling on your back, and want to make sure that other wolves don't take advantage of that. And that is something that we've seen from bolts. If Aiden's scent rolling, bolts might come over and try to posture over him or stand over him or dominate him in some way. So once we're back in the enclosure, we go through the normal procedure, which is the morning supplements, the glucosamine, the vitamins, the pups are on probiotic. Those types of things are then brought to the fence to try to distribute. And that's when we really see if there is any underlying tension from being held. While Denali had his back turned, Grayson went in for a grab bite, came up with a mouthful of hair. So there was a little altercation there. Then Denali chasing Grayson back, Grayson coming right back with his tail up in the air. Aiden not too concerned about it, Bolt's not really involved. So this was primarily a little tension between Grayson and Denali. Those two have a little bit of history. Denali was a little hard on Grayson when he first came into the enclosure, and now Grayson seems to be reasserting some dominance over Denali, and certainly that will be an interesting thing to watch as the winter progresses. So this is Axel now approaching Denali and kind of grooming him a little bit, where Grayson's circling behind him and trying to do a little bit of a grab bite again. So there's a relationship difference between Denali and Grayson and Denali and Axel. So every wolf here has a personality, and those personalities are what make the pack, and we are watching those pretty closely. One thing that is going on, obviously, is we have yearlings who typically start testing and coming into the rank order between their first and second year, and we have older animals between 9 and 10 where we typically see a retirement. So we have those two kind of events merging within the next year or two, and we'll be watching that very closely and kind of keeping staff updated on what to watch for and how to interpret behavior. This is a standover here, or an attempt of a standover, and that is in fact Grayson doing a standover on Denali. So like I said, when work is being done in the exhibit pack is moved to the east side. Well, once they're out of there, Luna and Grizzer get brought back, and they get an opportunity to smell where the pack has been. Sometimes they're looking for caches to see what's missing, and will oftentimes try to recache something if there's been something that's left out. So if the pups were chewing on a beaver foot and left it on top of the den, you see Luna caching there, checking out again where the other wolves have been. You'll notice Grizzer's walking pretty well. We are pretty pleased with where he's at. He is not on any pharmaceuticals. This is all just probably the lack of ice and the lack of slippage that he's doing quite well. And you'll notice he's pretty compatible with Luna. And so we did some work in the retired area, and we improved some of the protection for the front pack holding area habitat there, giving the wolves a little window so they can still see what's going on. And if you were watching the cameras and you thought you saw a different wolf, we did have, again, another wolf care staff person who brought their German Shepherd, so you may have seen glimpses of Greta running around while we were doing work. So again, I want to thank the wolf care participants who gave up their time, energy, resources to help support the wolf care program and make the lives of the ambassador wolves better. Couldn't do it without them and the dedicated staff making our lives better for these wolves. Thanks for watching.